I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
It was one of the greatest TV shows ever made.
Tread lightly.
In 2008, Breaking Bad gave audiences something they'd never seen.
Some straight like you giant stick up his ass, all of a sudden at age, 60, he's just gonna break bad?
A good guy who broke incredibly bad over a 62-episode arc. That was beautifully shot, perfectly plotted. And as for the acting, just ask the Emmy voters.
And the Emmy goes to
Bryan Cranston.
and a Gun. Aaron Paul, Breaking Bad.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna throw up. God bless you. Thank you very much.
10 years later, EW is bringing the cast of Breaking Bad back together for an unforgettable reunion.
Look at these faces and you go, oh my God, we have so much to share. But there's also a feeling of a little melancholy that it's sad that we are not going to regroup to be able to create something again.
And that we're 10 years closer to death.
Oh, that's good.
The following program.
Modern style.
My name is Walter Hartwell White. I live at 308 Negra Arroyo Lane, Albuquerque, New Mexico. To all law enforcement entities, this is not an admission of guilt. I am speaking to my family now.
The story of Breaking Bad began back in 2004 with writer-producer Vince Gilligan.
I remember when the idea hit me. I was talking to my buddy Tom Schnauz. He is my longest-term friend at this point. He and I met back in 1986, and in about 2004, he and I had been working on the X-Files, and that show was over, and we missed it. It was about 2 years gone at that point. And we were both out of work and commiserating on the phone one day. And I said, you know, how's by you? You got any good jobs lined up? He said, no, nothing. I said, man, what are we going to do? He said, I think what we ought to do is put a meth lab in the back of an RV, drive around America, see the sights, and make a little money cooking meth. I laughed, but then I thought, what would it take for me to actually do that in real life? Someone like me, someone boring and kind of plain vanilla, and what would I, there's got to be a reason that would make me actually do that.
I have cancer.
And it, very quickly, this character kind of came to life for me. Didn't have a name for him yet, didn't know he was Walter White yet. But it dawned on me that could be a hell of a TV show. The pitch I've said a million times, but probably everyone on earth has heard it, but I was going to take Mr. Chips, turn him into Scarface.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Morgan. Say hello to my little friend.
The script had kind of been shopped around town. It wasn't really, it was dead, to put it bluntly. It was not going anywhere. It was not going to be a TV show. And suddenly AMC comes out of nowhere. And I knew what AMC was. AMC was the channel where you saw Short Circuit 2, you know, 6 times in a week.
Hello, bozos.
I'm talking 10 years ago. AMC right now, I kid because they're kicking ass, and rightly so. And will continue to, because they were, little did I know how ballsy this outfit was going to be. You know, when I had this meeting 10, 11 years ago in this hotel, these folks said to me, hey, you know, we're interested in this dead project of yours, Breaking Bad. Surprise! And I said, really? And I thought, you know, the least I'm going to get out of this meeting is I'm going to get an $18 scotch in this bar, and that'll be all right, because I don't believe for a minute these guys are going to make this thing. This is just, you know, I was wrong. I've never been happier to be wrong.
Yes! Yes!
AMC greenlit a 7-episode first season. Next, Gilligan needed to find an actor with the chops to turn Arthur Chipping into Tony Montana.
It dawned on me pretty early. This character needs to be played by someone who is very arresting, has a great deal of charisma.
Actually, it's just basic chemistry, but thank you, Jesse. I'm glad it's acceptable.
And I thought back to this actor I'd worked with on the X-Files.
Hey! No! That is so stupid.
You shut up and drive. You understand?
it quickly dawned on me, this is the guy who ought to play this part. And that came very early in the process. It just seemed a no-brainer.
Say my name.
The role of the high school chemistry teacher turned drug kingpin, Walter White, went to Bryan Cranston. The 52-year-old actor was best known for his sitcom work, having played the dentist Tim Whatley in 5 episodes of Seinfeld.
Where's Jennifer today? Oh, she's over at Dr. Sussman's office. Yeah, we find it fun to swap now and then.
And the dad, Hal Wilkerson, in 7 seasons of Malcolm in the Middle.
I want to tell you about what happens when a boy really, really likes a girl. You see, there's a certain thing that happens between normal, healthy people. It's called chemistry. No, that doesn't happen. Except maybe the first time.
So it didn't surprise me in the early going of Breaking Bad when the executives at AMC, they would say, wait a minute, he's like the goofy, funny, slapsticky guy. Why would you think this guy could do the job?
Oh, wham, bam, thank you, Jam. Who's gonna love it? Your family am.
And I said, hey, watch this episode of The X-Files. And they watched it.
Mr. Crump. Call me by my last name, you say Mr. in front of it.
And they said, ooh, wow, this guy's got range.
You're goddamn right.
When we meet Walter White in the pilot, he just sort of seems like this helplessly typical, kind of regular American dad. He is working as a chemistry teacher.
Chemistry. It is the study of what?
Chemicals.
Chemicals. No.
And of course, in this country, we don't pay our teachers enough, so he also has to work another job on the side. Very embarrassing, working at a car wash.
Hey, Mr. White. Make those tires shine, huh?
Oh my God.
But you just get the sense that, like, here's a guy who is struggling in every way possible. He has a wife who loves him, he has 1 child and another child on the way, and is just struggling to make ends meet.
And you can tell that, you know, he's really working hard to provide for his family, and then kind of the worst thing possible happens. He collapses at the car wash, and we find out that he is diagnosed with lung cancer.
You understood what I've just said to you?
Yes. Lung cancer. Inoperable.
You know, just the effect of that in the first episode, when you've already seen just everything else that he's kind of going through on a day-to-day basis. It's just like, it's the ultimate Charlie Brown experience. It's like, how can anything worse happen to this guy?
It was such a journey for me to meet with Vince 7, 8 months before the pilot was shot, and learning. I didn't know from reading the pilot, and it was the best script I had ever read. But nowhere in the pilot script does it say where that journey is going to go, or how far it's going to. Is he just going to dabble in it for a little bit and then get out, or what? And when he told me he wanted to change this character from good to bad completely, we realized that this has never happened before. So what Vince Gilligan did was change the construct of what was possible in series television.
Pain is my foot in your ass, Marie. I'm done. I'm done.
I think I might have asked Vince at some point. I was like, do I need to audition again for this? Because it's a totally different kind of character.
Well, technically, chemistry is the study of matter. But I prefer to see it as the study of change.
In 2007, AMC greenlit a 7-episode first season of Breaking Bad, with creator Vince Gilligan at the helm.
Look at that.
Bryan Cranston signed on to play the soon-to-be iconic Walter White.
That is veggie bacon, believe it or not. 0 cholesterol, and you won't even taste the difference.
The role of Walter's wife, Skyler, went to Anna Gunn. Like Cranston, the 40-year-old actress had guest starred on Seinfeld.
You're acting very mysteriously.
Well, I'm very mysterious by nature. A lot of women find that attractive.
I find it annoying.
But Gunn was probably best known for her 2 seasons as Martha Bullock on the critically acclaimed Deadwood.
May I introduce my wife, Martha?
How do you do? How do you do?
When we meet Skylar White, she's currently pregnant with their second kid. You get the feeling that, okay, they've been married for a long time. Like any married couple, they're kind of, maybe a little too settled in their ways.
I do not like it when you don't talk to me. Well, I remember reading the pilot and just thinking it was one of the most brilliant pieces of writing I'd ever read. Worst that you can do is shut me out. And Skylar fascinated me. Because I could tell she was going to turn into something. I didn't know what, and the mystery of that was great, and Vince gave me just enough. He titillated me with just enough in terms of where she was going to go that I went, okay, got it. When he said she's going to be Carmela Soprano but in on the crime. I'm a bookkeeper, so I know what money laundering is. And that's literally how he put it. I went, okay, good talking to you. Bye-bye. That was it.
So, how'd it feel to be on?
How does it feel to be a smartass?
Good.
Walt and Skylar's son, Walt Jr., was played by 16-year-old newcomer RJ Mitte.
Walt Jr. is a high school-aged kid. He has cerebral palsy, but he seems like he's a pretty cool and together kid.
What the hell is this?
Hey.
Veggie bacon. We're watching our cholesterol.
Eat it.
This smells like Band-Aids.
One of the interesting things about him is that he's played by an actor who had a slightly less extreme version of cerebral palsy, and so there's something about this kid that you're immediately just sort of prone to like him in a way.
Are you sure you don't want to get a different kind, the skinny jeans? Because those are really supposed to be in style now. The skaters wear them.
Do I look like a skater?
Yeah, I felt I could really relate to Walt Jr. in many ways with the family situation and kind of what was going on in my life and what was mirroring with the White family.
You want me to pour you some juice?
I'll take a coffee.
Didn't know you started drinking coffee.
Yeah. I also started tying my own shoelaces too, all by myself.
It was really nice having a disabled character on television. Since Breaking Bad, I've been able to work with numerous charitable organizations in SAG-AFTRA's diversity division, and it really helped open the door for a lot of people in the disability community with equal opportunity employment, and kind of how Walt Jr. was represented as a character and not a disabled character.
You look awesome. She's not showing at all, is she? She's showing a little.
Carmen, this is my sister Marie.
Nice to meet you. Hi.
Betsy Brandt was cast as Skylar's sister, Marie. The 35-year-old actress had a long list of TV credits, including NCIS, Boston Legal, and ER.
Are you taking anything or drinking anything to give you a little lift?
Another mom I know gives it to me. Please, don't tell my husband.
Skylar's sister Marie is definitely that sister-in-law, the proverbial sister-in-law who seems to have these crazy issues. We learn pretty quickly that there's this interesting dynamic between the sisters.
So it's a midlife crisis.
No, he's just quiet.
How's the sex?
Marie, Jesus.
Guess that answers that.
Marie herself, we'll find out, is a kleptomaniac, and it's just, it's an interesting kind of a character to throw into the mix here as you're kind of meeting the sort of greater family dynamic around Walt.
The shoplifting? All of it? I mean, did you really think it was all just neatly gonna go away?
Well, if you hadn't tried to return it.
Apologize.
Sure, we all felt this way. We read that pilot, and I said to my husband, this is the best pilot that I've ever read. I love Marie. To this day, I love her. And I'm so thankful for the wonderful things about her, and I'm so thankful for all her faults, too, because it was just ridiculously fun to play.
Glock 22, that's my daily carry, okay? I mean, unless you're talking, what, plus B plus loads, you can forget the 9mm, all right? Should I seen one of those bounce off a windshield one time?
How were you shooting?
The role of Marie's husband, DEA agent Hank Schrader, went to Dean Norris. Gilligan remembered the 45-year-old actor from a 1995 episode of The X-Files.
Mulder and Scully?
That's right.
Either you two ever run an escaped convict operation?
No.
Well, then you'd be a real big help if you just tried to stay out of the way.
But Norris had since landed dozens of film and TV roles, often playing a hard-nosed cop.
Please be as specific as possible. Detective Sergeant Goodhart.
Officer Bald.
Hank is Marie's husband. He's Walt's brother-in-law. He's a very macho guy. He's a DEA agent who takes great pride in his work. He's big on bragging.
Buddy, I am the brains and the brawn. I'm the whole package.
I think one of the most interesting things for me, I kind of mentioned to you on our little, was the fact that he kind of went from a comic kind of buffoonish character, which was fun to play.
Some dude goes by Captain Cook. Says he always adds a dash of chili powder. You exuberant Mexicans.
To somewhere in the, third season, becoming a much more tragic character.
It's supposed to hurt. Pain is weakness leaving your body.
Pain is my foot in your ass, Marie. I'm done. I'm done.
And it's rare that you get to kind of do that kind of an arc in anywhere, to be honest with you. So I think I might have asked Vince at some point. I was like, do I need to audition again for this? Because it's a totally separate, not a separate, but it's but it was a totally different kind of character, and it was fun to do that kind of arc. So.
Want to cook?
I love this kid so much, but when I first read this script, I had no idea where he was going. I mean, he was supposed to die at the end of the first season.
What the hell, man? Well, you got a brain the size of Wisconsin, but we're not gonna hold that against you.
In 2007, Breaking Bad was greenlit, and creator Vince Gilligan began putting together a group of actors that would eventually become a family.
Look, I don't know what you think you're doing here. I mean, if you're planning on giving me some bull winder about getting right with Jesus or turning myself in.
Not really.
High school was a long time ago. Okay, you ain't welcome back, Carter, so step off.
Rounding out the cast was Aaron Paul as Walt's former student turned business partner, Jesse Pinkman. The 29-year-old actor had landed a string of small roles on big shows like Beverly Hills 90210, ER, and The X-Files.
Oh God, it's happening to me.
Come on now!
But daytime TV fans may have remembered Paul from his 2000 appearance as a contestant on The Price is Right.
You're the man, Bob! Oh, you're my idol!
Pre-Jesse Pinkman, Aaron Paul, he was on The Price is Right as himself, and his enthusiasm and word choice and mannerisms are almost exactly like Jesse Pinkman.
Congratulations! I got
When we first meet Jesse Pinkman, AKA Captain Cook, AKA Chili P, he is escaping this bus that Hank asked Walt to ride along on. For us as the audience, we think that this is just some poor schmuck who got caught in this terrible thing happening. But to Walt, it's Pinkman.
Pinkman?
His former student and someone he knew from teaching chemistry.
Honestly, I never expected you to amount to much, but methamphetamine? I didn't picture that. There's a lot of money in it, huh?
And that gives Walt the idea to team up with Jesse. He goes to him with this idea that he wants to get into the whole drug industry, and that's how their partnership begins.
You want to cook crystal meth? You and me.
That's right.
Jesse Pinkman was not meant to be a long-term survivor of a character on Breaking Bad.
What the hell, man?
Back when I was plotting out the first episode on my own, back before I had a writing staff, it just seemed to me that Walter White, who's a very square, straight arrow dude, needed entree, needed a guide into the underworld.
You may know a lot about chemistry, man, but you don't know jack about slinging dope.
And once into the underworld, that guide, having served his or her purpose, we could dispense with him.
Please, no! Oh, God, I don't want to die!
So, he'll give his former teacher entree, and then he'll get killed horribly at the end of the first season.
You serious?
And then we hired Aaron Paul. And Aaron Paul he plays the abrasive stuff I'd written to a T.
I got a wire. Speak into the mic, bitch.
The character can be kind of a little annoying little jerk, but also, even at his jerkiest, this character has heart.
What stage are you?
3A.
Contra lymph nodes.
And that was one of the great moments for me, Breaking Bad, was realizing we had this kid was gold.
Yeah, bitch!
This character was gold, and the young actor playing him was a keeper. We needed to keep him around.
Want to cook?
To start with Jesse, I mean, I love this kid so much, but when I first read this script, I had no idea where he was going. I mean, he was supposed to die at the end of the first season, so I don't think, Vince didn't know where he was going, the writers didn't know where he was going, and so, but where they took him was just such a brutal struggle, this journey that he went on, that I went on, that we all went on. It was incredible, At first, he was just this druggy burnout, but Vince and the other writers were able to tell a much more interesting story rather than just this druggy burnout, and I love that.
You and I will not make garbage. We will produce a chemically pure and stable product that performs as advertised.
Breaking Bad premiered on January 20th, 2008. While critics raved, ratings were lukewarm throughout the first season.
When Breaking Bad first came on television, it was critically adored pretty much from the word go. But, it was on AMC, which at that time was not necessarily the ratings powerhouse that it would become later with Walking Dead. It was just like a different universe of watching television where people weren't necessarily as into serialized television as they would become. But critics kind of called it out really early as a favorite. So sometimes we do get things right.
Yes!
Yeah, nothing but cows. Yeah, that scene where he's trying to figure out if there's anything around.
Got some big cow house way out that way, like 2 miles, but I don't see nobody.
Then he spots a cow house.
Cow house?
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, cow house? He's like, yeah, cows, where they live.
Yeah, where they live.
A cow house.
A cow house, like he's the idiot,
Oh, whatever, man. Yeah, let's cook here.
We were having so much fun in these characters.
Cow house. God help me. It's a classic kind of construct in narrative that you have two characters who are forced to be together for one reason or another, but they are so diametrically opposite in their makeup. And to have that come together so quickly and be so obvious in the opening episode was a striking gold.
Remember, it's the first time you ever saw Gus do anything that nefarious by his own hand. And he did it for a reason.
We never knew. You just don't know what it's going to be. Yeah. You have great hopes, but you never know.
In 2008, Breaking Bad premiered on AMC. Despite modest ratings, the show was a huge hit with critics, and Bryan Cranston took home the Emmy for Best Actor in a Drama.
Oh my goodness. Oh man, she's... She's bald too.
During season 2, creator Vince Gilligan began adding a few new characters.
You don't want a criminal lawyer, right? You want a criminal lawyer.
The role of criminal attorney Saul Goodman went to Bob Odenkirk.
Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do, and so do I.
The 47-year-old actor started out as a writer on SNL, but was most recognizable from his own sketch comedy series, Mr. Show with Bob and David.
Hi, I'm Don Pratt, and I want to help you with anything. I can do chores, listen to your stories, or just mess around with you.
And for playing the fast-talking agent Stevie Grant on The Larry Sanders Show.
I'm just exercising my right to be the best I can be. That's what America's all about, okay? That's what makes it a great company.
Country.
What did I say?
He is kind of very much the comic relief of Breaking Bad. He is a ambulance-chasing crooked lawyer who, knows the underbelly of the Albuquerque crime world and is willing to exploit it for his clients as long as his clients have the money to pay him.
I'm a lawyer. Even drug dealers need lawyers, right? Especially drug dealers.
I mean, it was a blast and a challenge to play Saul in Breaking Bad. It was funny.
Oh, look at you. Should I call the FBI and tell them I found D.B. Cooper?
And it was a very energized character, and it was great fun to play it, and also to get, like I say, a challenge to get in a room with, these actors on this level.
Let's start with some tough love, all right? Ready for this? Here goes. You two suck at peddling meth, period. What you two need is an honest-to-God businessman, right?
I was used to being around clowns.
You still are.
Idiots. Children playing with mud pies. And then I was suddenly in this top-notch, surrounded by these people.
You know someone like that?
Let's just say I know a guy who knows a guy.
Can I help you, sir?
Master meth distributor and fast food chain owner Gustavo Gus Fring was played by Giancarlo Esposito. The 51-year-old actor had a long list of film and TV credits, but was probably best known for his work with director Spike Lee in Malcolm X, Mo Better Blues, and Do the Right Thing.
Rarely do I see any American Italians eating in here. All I see is black folks. So since we spend much money here, we do have some say.
It's almost kind of like, this guy who owns a fast food chain is also, Don Corleone on steroids, basically. And the way that Giancarlo Esposito plays him, there's just this really magnetic sense that he is sort of like the gravitational force around which everything else for a long period of the show kind of rotates around.
If you try to interfere, I will kill your wife. I will kill your son. I will kill your infant daughter. What I enjoyed the most was being able to create a character that was calm. And I didn't quite know how to do that. So most enjoyable was to figure out how to drop my spirit and to be calm and to be observant of everyone else and to take time before I spoke and to develop a very methodical way of speaking. And I didn't know how to do it, but I'm a practicing yogi, so breathing. Breathing really helped. I don't think we're alike at all, Mr. White. You have poor judgment. And in that second episode, the end of season 2, was a stage direction, which said, hiding in plain sight. And this brought up so much for me in my imagination into what Gus could be. And I thought, oh, this is the way to go.
Gus, you do this. All you'll have left is an $8 million hole in the ground.
Without a doubt, something that sticks in my head was when Giancarlo takes that box cutter out.
You kill me, you have nothing.
And dispatches that one guy.
God. Let us just go back to work. We'll just pick up right where we left off.
Because that kind of sudden violence that's so intense, you just, I don't know, it's very shocking and surprising.
Remember, it's the first time you ever saw Gus do anything that nefarious by his own hand. And he did it for a reason. This is for you to become awakened, because this will happen to you, and I might do it to you myself. Well, get back to work. Certainly the message was sent.
I remember that scene more than any other scene that we shot, because while Jane was dying, I saw my own daughter's face come to light and die in front of me.
It's Jane, right? Well, Jane, I gotta say, this place is awesome.
Really? Does it inspire awe?
The second season of Breaking Bad also introduced 28-year-old Kristen Ritter as Jesse's short-lived girlfriend, Jane Margolis.
We should do something.
Yeah, we should.
No, something else.
Jane, who is Jesse's neighbor, starts a relationship with him, and she's a recovering addict, and they are not good for each other. It's a very toxic relationship, and once she gets back into drugs and introduces Jesse to heroin, she becomes a very negative force in his life, wanting to blackmail Walt and use what Jesse knows against him to get money.
All Jesse wants is what's coming to him. No more, no less.
What are you talking about?
480,000.
What's interesting about her is that she also really provokes a challenge to Walt. I mean, in a sense, she becomes the most important person in Jesse's life, and she decides that Jesse should have more of a share of the money.
What, some kind of blackmail or something?
This is blackmail. Because what I know about you, high school teacher turned drug dealer with a brother-in-law in the DEA, that'd make one hell of a story.
And so, in a weird way, it winds up making her into Walt's nemesis of the season, essentially, and it leads into her death scene in a really kind of awful way.
How do I know she'll keep quiet?
I guess you don't.
You're not seeing straight, Jesse. You are making a mistake.
When I read how Walt allowed Jane to die, and how he played it. And it just stuck with me for the rest of the show because that was always this burning question, is Jesse ever gonna find out? Is he not?
Jesse!
How it was originally scripted was much different than how we ended up shooting it. How it was originally scripted was much more malicious in a way. When Jane was choking on her vomit, she was ODing. It was originally scripted that Walt pushes her on her back and in return, you know.
Yeah, I thought she'd be more comfortable.
God.
So maybe this will help her, you know. And when I read that, I just, you know, I had to put the script down. I couldn't believe it was already there, you know. And this was very early on. This was season 2. And I think they made I don't know where the note came from, but I think they made a good decision.
I think Sony and AMC had a chat with Vince and said, is this turning Walt too quickly for him to egregiously push her on her back? Doesn't that make him so culpable that there's no turning back? And it ended up where Walt was trying to shake Jesse awake, and in that jostling of you,
Jesse, wake up!
She flops to her back, which she starts choking, and then she eventually dies. And in my experience, there's something that happens. We were talking about it earlier about your body and your emotions. When you are voluntarily putting them through something traumatic, your body and emotions don't recognize that you're acting. You're still going through trauma.
Yeah.
And I remember that scene more than any other scene that we shot, because while Jane was dying, I'm seeing Kristen Ritter giving her all, and her face then kind of blends away, and I saw my own daughter's face come to light and start and die in front of me. Was so upsetting that, and you couldn't shake it, but one of the things that I wrote when I was doing my work before the scene of what could be possible emotionally is that, why should I save her? Well, she could be my daughter, she's young, and somewhere in my subconscious that just came to the conscious level, and there she was. I saw my own daughter dying in front of me, and to this day that makes my heart feel heavy. But that's one of the things. It's emotional risk, I think, is the most dangerous that we face. And that was it for me, that scene.
Everything is gonna be okay, I promise. Sit tight. I know who to call.
Jane's death opened the door for another new character, fixer and occasional hitman Mike Ehrmantraut, played by Jonathan Banks. The 62-year-old character actor had enjoyed a 4-decade-long career, but was perhaps most recognizable from the 1984 hit Beverly Hills Cop.
Are you still pissed at me?
Oh, no. No. But I should have taken care of you in Detroit when I popped your little buddy.
When we first meet Mike, it's kind of not entirely clear who he works for. He has connections to Saul, he has connections to Gus, but we do know that he's a fixer.
Come on, inside.
So after the death of Jesse's girlfriend, Jane, Mike is brought in to fix the situation and make it so that no questions come from the authorities about what happened.
Here's your story. You woke up, you found her, that's all you know.
No, they needed somebody to come in and clean up a mess, right?
Yeah.
And Bobby couldn't do it because he was doing some sitcom somewhere.
I'll see you later, Randall Wilkerson. Marshall Erickson. Gary Dinkersfield, right.
So they called, and I went in, and I thought I was doing a day job, and I went in and I did it. I slapped Aaron in the face.
Very hard.
Which he still whines about, and went home. And I guess, you know.
Abusive. The happy accident. Jane has died, and he calls the Saul, his lawyer, and that was the way it was scripted. But Bob wasn't available because he wasn't a series regular at the time. He's still not a series regular, but
one day.
One day.
One day, just keep fighting, man.
Yeah. Right. And so, hence the need to have another character, and I think Vince and the writers realized, wait a minute, Saul wouldn't be the guy to come clean up the mess anyway. He would know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. And that's who Jonathan Banks is. He's the fourth I know a guy.
Yep.
Down the road.
A long career of being the fourth guy that walked through the door.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do I need to state the obvious? I was not here.
Figuring out when to end Breaking Bad was an agonizing decision.
Please tell me, how much is enough? How big does this pile have to be?
Everybody, the wall, Nostrovia.
In 2008, Breaking Bad premiered to rave reviews, yet mediocre ratings. And by 2010, not much had changed. Viewership for the first 3 seasons was almost identical, while Cranston won 3 straight Best Actor Emmys.
I love this business, and thank you so much. God bless you.
Lee Trevino was struck by lightning twice, and now I know how he feels. God bless you all. Thank you to the Academy. Good night.
Hard to believe it took so long, but in the fall of 2011, audiences finally started to catch on.
Oh, how long do you think that would take?
That September, AMC reached a deal with Netflix. Suddenly, viewers had instant access to the first 33 episodes.
This phrase I'd never even heard, binge watching, the practice of it allowed for people to catch up with a very serialized show. I mean, when I started in television, it was anathema to have a serialized show. You wanted an episodic show. But a serialized show like Breaking Bad, hyper-serialized, where you only are really truly rewarded if you pay strict attention to the smallest details. That only really works in a post-Netflix world. That only really works in a post-streaming video on-demand world. I mean, just, you know, I'd love to say, oh yeah, I saw this coming and we planned for it. No, we were just lucky. I was lucky.
It was a pretty drastic difference when Breaking Bad made it onto Netflix, and I think you're right. I think Breaking Bad was
the first
bingeable show that was still airing.
I think it was like 30% of their streaming at one point.
Yeah, and
I wish I'd bought their stock back then.
Netflix really was a
game
huge
it was a
game
tipping point
changer
for sure.
By the time the season 4 finale aired, ratings were up 20%. And nearly 2 million tuned in to see Walt end his 2-year feud with Gustavo Fring.
For me, there was a sadness, but yet a relief at letting this character go, because I felt like, you know, it's time. It's time to go. This is Walter White's journey, and Gus has been a really wonderful nemesis. I felt like I was leaving something behind with Gus that people could really enjoy. And if I could do that, then my time is done. My job is done.
What happened?
I won.
In 2012, it seemed like the entire country was binge-watching Breaking Bad. And that July, almost 3 million were glued to their sets for the premiere of the 5th and final season.
Yeah, bitch! Magnets! Oh!
AMC ultimately decided to greenlight it for a slightly longer 5th season of 16 episodes, and they split it up into 8 and 8. So it was essentially 2 shorter seasons rather than just one single season running along. And Vince Gilligan has sort of talked about how he almost kind of felt there was a need in the first half of season 5 to reset the show, set the board, so then he could kind of get to the ending that he was sort of hoping for in the back half of the season.
Well, what happened there?
It's my birthday.
Yeah? Well, happy birthday.
Figuring out when to end Breaking Bad was an agonizing decision.
Please tell me, how much is enough? How big does this pile have to be?
One of the things I'm proudest of is that we did end the show. You know, the show was designed, as I said before, as kind of an experiment. It was designed to be a finite thing. The character was designed to not be in stasis, but rather to change, to evolve or devolve, however you'd like to look at it. We had our good guy, and a certain number of episodes in, he was going to be the bad guy, and at a certain point, as a writer, you say to yourself, well, just how bad can a bad guy be? And as we saw, Walter White got pretty bad indeed.
That's right. Now, say my name.
Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
I really was saying goodbye to you, your character, but also you know what I'm saying? It was all right there. Skylar, bring the kids here. And then we'll talk.
That is not going to happen.
After nearly a year-long hiatus, the second half of season 5 premiered in August 2013.
I don't know who you are.
And almost 6 million viewers tuned in.
Then maybe your best course would be to tread lightly.
What's interesting about when you get to the back half of Breaking Bad's final season, you had this incredible just feeling that a show that had been a kind of critical darling and it had sort of like a smaller but devoted fan base, suddenly, you could just feel that there was this excitement brewing around it. It's like, it's comparable to how people feel now about like the final season of Game of Thrones. There was just this feeling that people were talking about it all the time and wondering, what would happen to Walt and what would happen to Jesse and what would happen now that Hank knows who Walt is.
I think the best testament any of us who are so inside and connected is that we could not accurately predict from one episode to the next what was going to happen.
Right.
How is that possible? When you read a script and you go, I didn't see that coming. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was going to go that way.
Yeah.
It was a journey. Every script was like opening a present.
So you're here to confess?
There's nothing to confess.
When I think about the awkward guacamole scene, and that day when you talk about what you went through, telling you all day that you should go and kill yourself.
What do I have to do to make you believe me?
Why'd you kill yourself, Walt? And to look you in the eye and mean it every time I say that to you. And I was having chest pains, and I felt just like,
just kill yourself. This whole thing dies with you, right?
And then I asked him, which I did this a lot, I would ask if we got it, and then I would cry, because Marie was so on.
That's what you're saying here? Is that Hank should just let it go and wait for you to die? Or maybe you should just go ahead and die then.
But I remember saying, I said, I need to hug you. And And then I said, I'm ready to go do a comedy now. And I just thought, we did exactly what we were supposed to do with these characters. And I loved Marie and the character that Vince wrote, and I just wanted to take her on the journey that she deserved and that they all deserved. And I felt like we did that. And that was, I never wanted it to end, but it was such a good feeling to feel like we really did them all in this world justice, you know, and you don't always get that.
It was the irony of the awkward guacamole scene about where Marie tells me I should just go kill myself is essentially what happened, is that ultimately he did.
I wanted to tell him to go kill himself a bunch of times. Never got that
Good
line.
move.
Walter White, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
There's tons of great moments towards the end of the show, but Hank's death has to be the most memorable and shocking moment the show had ever done.
Coward.
At this point, Jesse is in cahoots with the DEA, and him and Hank lure Walt into the desert. Walt finally gets arrested by Hank, and he's about to be taken into custody, but our current baddies, the neo-Nazis, show up.
Police! Drop your weapons!
And a horrible gun battle ensues. Hank's left on the ground, out of reach of his firearm.
Whoa, simmer down there, Sparky.
He's about to be killed by the head Nazi.
Sorry, man. Just no scenario where this guy lives.
No, listen!
And Walt, for the umpteenth time in the show, tries to use his words and brains to talk his way out of the situation.
The DEA doesn't know about this. Not yet. Hank, nothing can change what just happened. But you can walk out of here alive.
In one final attempt to save Hank, Walt begs for his brother-in-law's life.
You gotta tell him now that we can work this out. Please. Please.
What? You want me to beg?
Hank doesn't back down. He says one of the best lines in the whole series.
You're the smartest guy I ever met. And you're too stupid to see. He made up his mind 10 minutes ago.
And I remember looking, at Bryan saying, knew 10 minutes ago, and I was like, I really was saying goodbye to you, your character, but also you know what I'm saying? It was all right there. It was like, it is all kind of mixed in, with the fact that I was saying goodbye to you.
And Walt is saying,
Walt, just say it, just stick around. Let's make this stick around a little bit longer. And it was an emotional, emotional endings,
Do what you're gonna do.
When Hank dies, the camera actually focuses on Walt's face, and you just see like everything kind of draining out of him. Thanks to him, a member of his family has been killed, a member of the law enforcement agency has been killed, it's Hank, Hank is dead now. It just seems like from here on out, Walt is kind of as much dead as Hank is to a certain extent.
Hey.
I had such a hard time with Hank's death, and that wasn't the finale, but it was part of everything ending. And sometimes we would read the script and we'd all email, and everyone was emailing about that episode. And I said, if I don't read it, does that mean it won't happen?
You're never gonna see Hank again.
I still have not seen that scene because I just can't watch them drag you, and I just can't. I just can't. And I get it's pretend. It's not like I text Marie all day and, expect you guys to, show up at my house wearing purple. But I really, and this is what I said about him, and I feel her too. I said, especially in this story, it was so fun to be a part of that relationship because they were, flawed maybe, but such good people, and to be part of the love. And I just thought Hank should be in the world. You know, the world is better off with some people in it, and he's one of them. Like, he should have been in it, and I can't watch it.
You let that sink in.
It was incredibly moving. It was really beautiful. And we just hung on to each other, you know, and cried when we were done with our work.
I thought, if people love this show that much, God bless them, I want to do right by them.
After 5 seasons, 62 episodes, 58 Emmy nominations, and 16 wins, including 2 for Best Drama, Breaking Bad came to an end on September 29th, 2013. More than 10 million tuned in for one of the most highly anticipated series finales in TV history.
I was dreading it because I just didn't want it to end. It came too quickly. When you're looking at 16 episodes to finish your story, and then it just came too quickly. Our feelings were exacerbated by the fact that we were not just saying goodbye to our characters, we were saying goodbye to each other. That under those circumstances, we weren't ever going to be able to be in this situation again. So it was the actors saying, the real people saying goodbye, and the characters, it's a goodbye to them. So it was that effect was very profound.
Well, what happened there?
It's my birthday.
Yeah? Well, happy birthday.
The finale kind of circles back around to where we began season 5. You know, Walt, having turned 52, congratulations, last birthday ever. He's kind of returned to Albuquerque after he's been on the run, and he's returned with some unfinished business. Part of that business has to do with his family.
At least y'all got to talk, though. You
didn't have any dialogue in that last scene, in that last episode.
If I have to hear one more time that you did this for the family.
I did it for me. I liked it.
You know, I mean, honestly, Walter White saying I did it because I liked it. I mean, that is like a massive pulling the rug out shocker.
I was good at it.
But also resonates and makes perfect sense, and there's just their ability to, Vince's ability to take all these elements, and they were talking earlier about surprising you with the next script and what's going to happen, and yet it makes emotional sense.
I was alive.
That's the trick. It doesn't come out as random. It doesn't come out as just throwing shit against the wall to surprise you or change things up. That's the real incredible trick that he did and continues to do.
Before I go, may I see her?
The most moving scene of that episode, just to be witness to on the set, I'll never forget, was the scene where Walt says goodbye to his baby daughter in her crib. That was one of the finest moments of acting by Anna Gunn and by Bryan Cranston.
Of course it was sad. There was a real sense of watching an era, you know, and something extraordinarily lucky and important for all of us, you know, come to a close, but it came to a close in such a good way. It was incredibly moving. It was really beautiful. And we just hung on to each other, you know, and cried when we were done with our work, so. And then those guys had to go on. They were like, we're not done, get out of here.
But it's all kind of leading up to this final showdown. Walt's such a meticulous guy. He knows that he has unfinished business with Uncle Jack and with the neo-Nazis. And we also know that he got that gun way back in the season premiere. What's he gonna do with that?
The worst thing of all was that damn M60 machine gun, because we planted that. And I would recommend to anyone starting out doing their own show, their own serialized show, don't get cute and put something like, ooh, the hero / villain, you know, protagonist buys an M60 machine gun at the beginning of a season. What will he use it for? I have no freaking idea, but it sounds cool. Let's do it. We did that to ourselves. We painted ourselves into this corner, and one of the worst parts, as I remember, one of the moments I've never been more angry at myself. We'd be in the writer's room and we'd say, you know, okay, we got to pay off this machine gun. Walt bought that machine gun. And I literally, at a certain point, and this is why you need good people around you to keep you honest, I said, you know, let's forget the machine gun. The audience is not going to remember the machine gun. And they were like, are you crazy? So we stuck with it. We finally figured out the machine gun. But it was rough sledding for a while there. I don't want to go through that again.
Whew. Damn, man, this thing's a classic.
Walt arranges to meet the Nazis. He drives to their compound.
Kind of parks his car in this very specific way, and you're not really thinking about what that means precisely.
No, just straight in, man. Just what? All right, fine. Yeah, whatever.
So he asks to see Jesse, and Jesse at this point has been held captive by these guys.
He's alive, isn't he? He's cooking for you. What, are you gonna lie?
Him being alive is not him and me being partners. Not by a damn sight.
And it's just sort of like, I mean, it's awful to see Jesse in this way. He's clearly just like, essentially their little roach monster who's just like making meth and is being held captive.
Go get him, bring him here.
It's just, this moment that like, you're shocked to see Jesse this way. Walt is also shocked to see Jesse this way. He thought that Jesse was working with them. He didn't realize he was imprisoned. So there's this very kind of delicate moment where Walt is seemingly kind of attacking Jesse.
Toddy, get him off, would you?
He's really kind of grabbing his key fob, presses the sort of trunk thing, and that sets up this whole mechanism that he's built.
And in one of the most satisfying reveals of the show, this Gatling gun pops out of the trunk of the car, starts spraying the entire compound, and everyone who is not lying on the ground is completely and utterly decimated.
And, it's a little bit of a stretch to imagine that like they all lined up perfectly right in front of the bullets. Like I sort of think that's one situation where the show's kind of like, okay, yeah, we can accept this because it's sort of like, the final showdown.
In the aftermath, the only two left standing are Walt and Jesse, and Walt slides the gun over and asks Jesse to kill him.
Do it.
Jesse can see that Walt has been shot, and he doesn't want to answer to him ever again, so he refuses to pull the trigger.
Then do it yourself.
Jesse escapes, and in the end, we just have Walt alone, dying of a gunshot wound, and you realize that he's kind of wistful and happy. And there's this moment of almost satisfaction at what he's accomplished. We start hearing the tones of Baby Blue by Badfinger playing. And you realize for Walt, this is it. Final shot of the show is the camera pulling up dead Walt on the floor as the police arrive. The ending is almost perfect because Walt does get what he deserves, as the song says, in the sense that he deserves to die.
My own mom, Gail Gilligan, back in Chesterfield County, Virginia, a sweet, she'll kill me for saying this, as sweet a little old lady as you could hope to meet. Picture Aunt Bee from the Andy Griffith Show. And at the end of Breaking Bad, she said to me, why did you have to kill him? I really wanted him to get away. I was like, Mom, are you kidding me? I had no idea people were going to relate to this character like they did. And I got to tell you, hats off to Bryan Cranston. It's all due to Bryan Cranston for being so sympathizable.
We started Better Call Saul. I was walking around a lot going, where is everybody? Aren't they going to come from around the corner?
I kind of knew after the success of Breaking Bad that if I didn't get onto something else too sweet, I would probably get into this state of creative paralysis. I would say I would start to second guess and triple guess everything from that point on I wanted to do, and I would say, man, you know, is this thing I'm contemplating, is it good enough?
The final episode of Breaking Bad aired in September 2013, and just 18 months later, Gilligan's brand new prequel series, Better Call Saul, premiered on February 8th, 2015.
Frankly, I don't go looking for guilty people to represent. I mean, who needs that aggravation, right?
We rolled right in. I think we finished a mix on a Friday, the last Breaking Bad. We rolled into the writer's room on the following Monday, as I recall, Better Call Saul. It was the best thing we could have done because it kept us moving, and for me, that was what I needed.
Better Call Saul takes place 6 years before Saul Goodman, aka Jimmy McGill, first meets Walter White.
What the hell kind of math is that?
700 per defense.
No. Defendant. Dent. 3 defendants, 2,100, which, by the way, bargain what I did for them.
They going to jail, ain't they?
Sausage, when does that matter?
What can I say? My show, the story is still going on for me, so. But there's a pretty big leap there between the Saul in Breaking Bad and the Jimmy McGill Saul of Better Call Saul. So, I mean, you only saw one dimension of him pretty much in Breaking Bad. So this show was a setup, and then this has been a massive journey about the many sides that they brought to this character in this second show.
Better Call Saul is almost kind of like his origin story in a way. But of course, the most interesting and most compelling person who transferred from Breaking Bad to Better Call Saul as a supporting character is Mike Ehrmantraut.
You want to know why I didn't take that money? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Me personally, I was hired to do a job. I did it. It's as far as it goes. For Bob and I, it continues. It's hitting the lottery. It's whatever cliche you want to use. And it is painful by the time you get to the end of the couch to be with you guys. Me, what the is this? I don't know where that came from. When Bob and I started, we started Better Call Saul, I thought there was a ghost on the lot. Bobby was nervous. Bobby couldn't talk. Bobby was this. He was going into the show. But I was walking around the lot going, where is everybody? Aren't they going to come from around the corner? I didn't know I was going to do this. Oh, I haven't had enough sleep. That's probably what it is, y'all. How good. How lucky. And I love Mike.
My favorite scene was killing Mike Ehrmantraut.
This whole thing could have been avoided.
Shut the up. Let me die in peace. And if took you long enough, you want to bring that up? You know what? We're going to do some kick-ass right now. We'll talk later.
It's been 10 years since Walt's first cook, and Breaking Bad remains on the shortlist of the greatest TV dramas ever made.
I think that it's got a timeless aspect to it because of what it explores about human nature and how it delves into the human psyche. And again, I'm sorry, I'm getting choked up because it just reminds me of filming those scenes and how real and terrifying and heartbreaking and all of it was. And yeah, very lucky to have had that.
Oh my God, they really have gotten older, haven't they?
I love these people, you know. I feel blessed to have shared this incredible experience that is Breaking Bad with each and every one of these people. I remember when we were shooting the first season, Dean and I were talking, he goes, you know, in 10 years, we're gonna look back and say, God damn it, I used to be a part of Breaking Bad. and now it's crazy that 10 years has passed and I am still constantly thinking that, you know? It's like, wow, how lucky we all are.
It's like, as the great philosopher Kenny Rogers once said, you gotta know when to hold them and you gotta know when to fold them. And, we folded them. And I think in hindsight, we did it at the right time. You don't want to leave the party. You don't want to be the last guy at the party with the lampshade on your head and everybody's like, when's he gonna get the hell out of here? And so it was better to leave them wanting a little more.
He created a realm of storytelling that opened up to the world what was now possible. That the box that you thought you were in before can be completely obliterated. And we're seeing derivatives of Breaking Bad, in many ways. And I find it
flattering.
It's flattering in many ways.
People have said it was the best show ever on television. You can argue that, I guess.
No, you can't.
But we came, if we're not the best show, if you guys weren't the best show ever.
That's for other people to determine.
No, it's for me to determine.
You go ahead, Bertie.
Determine it.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
don't want to get
Dan.
up.
Thank you, Dan.
Now we have to leave again.
I don't want, can we just keep talking or?